need him. If he gets these days, life is hard. You have to change. Welcome back, young scholars. That was a little bit of Blind Melon changes. This video is for both the disciples of Miss Dixon and the scholars of Mr. Schumann. We're combining our forces, and this is a video that hopefully will give you guys some idea about what you should be doing for Wednesday, March 25th. Here's the agenda page on Canvas. So some of you have not finished we didn't get quite finished with the imperialism guided lecture. So that's the first thing you should do is click on that 12B imperialism video and catch maybe the last couple minutes of it, or maybe if you really want to be awesome, rewatch the whole thing to get a better idea of imperialism. If you ever are having a hard time getting the videos to play, you can always right click and then there'll be a copy of the URL, and then you click on that and you open it up in a new URL, and then you can full screen it, and that's the best way that you can see the videos. And again, you can always download the guided lectures if you don't have physical copies of the notes. If you can print them out, that would be awesome. If you can't, you should always just maybe grab a piece of paper and then jot down some of the really important information that's contained in the slides, so you're doing some more active learning. So that's the first thing you should do, is finish up that lecture on imperialism. The next thing you should do is open up the 19th century Japan video and watch through that video and complete the guided notes on that lecture as well. It's about the Meiji Restoration, which is a really important concept for the AP World History test. It shows up a lot. So you should check out that video. And then the next thing you should do is click on this link, which is the Meiji Restoration Reading. It's about 2 pages, and it does a nice job of kind of summarizing the things you really need to understand and know about how Japan began this process of westernizing. So here's what the first page of the reading looks like. And the questions you should be asking yourself to just sort of check as you're reading this article called Throwing Off Asia, the Westernization of Japan, is what caused Japan to ultimately westernize, and how did Japan westernize? And how is it at all similar or different than the way industrialization took place in Europe and the United States? So once you've completed that reading, the next thing you can do or should do is, if you can, because all of these are just opportunities, is to click on the 12E Meiji Propaganda. So you will see 6 images, and what you need to do is analyze each of those 6 images. There are 3 slogans that are mentioned in the reading that you should apply as you're looking at those propaganda images. And so as you're reading, or as you're looking at those images, think about what are the various subjects of the images, what colors are used, are there any symbols, is there a particular tone? Whenever you're dealing with propaganda, right, you're probably getting in this case, it would be an image produced by the government that is designed to promote a certain sense or feeling among the Japanese people. And so be kind of paying attention to what different ideas the Japanese were trying to promote amongst their people. And so last thing you should do is identify how this print suggests the various changes that are taking place in Meiji Japan, and those important isms that we're studying from this period 3, concepts like nationalism and industrialization and westernization and militarism and imperialism, and see if you can identify if the image shows those concepts as you're going. So here is the organizer that you guys will be completing, where you fill out what are the various, which of the 3 slogans. It could be potentially more than one as well. What are some of the subjects, activities, colors, symbols, and then maybe why those things are chosen. And then which of those changes are represented: nationalism, industrialization, westernization, militarism, or imperialism. Again, there can be images that have multiple correct answers. So we'll do the first one together real quick. The As I'm looking at this image, well, I'll let you guys take a second to just pause and try and maybe complete those first three boxes. All right, so as I'm looking at this image, some of the things that stand out to me, and hopefully some of the things you identified, were one, this flag. This is the Imperial Japanese Rising Sun flag. And so it shows exactly what is mentioned down here at the bottom. Always read the caption in an image. So here you have Japanese armed forces occupying an island in a war called the Sino-Japanese War. And if you know this word Sino, maybe you've seen it once or twice in different contexts in this class. It's a reference to China. So this was a war fought between the Chinese and the Japanese in the late 1800s. And you see here the Japanese are trying to celebrate their success. So definitely an image that reflects those concepts of imperialism, because you have the Japanese conquering their neighbor, in this case the Chinese. And here is the Japanese imperial flag going up, and here is the Chinese flag that is broken and down here. And so we see an image that is very much reflective of Japanese nationalism, right? The pride the Japanese are taking in the conquest that they are making. You see an image that definitely highlights the concept of militarism, right? You've got military figures very much celebrating. You've got this huge gun here, which also I think may be reflective of Japanese industrialization, because it's large metal piece of machinery. Clearly, this is something you can't just hand manufacture, but these were things that were being weapons that are being produced in Japanese factories. You see these are Chinese down here that are literally being stepped on. So again, an image that is reflective of that concept of social Darwinism, but in this case that is being applied by the Japanese people towards the Chinese, right? That they believe that they are a superior ethnic group and that they are showing their domination over the inferior Chinese people. Let's see. Yeah, so I think this is an image that probably hits all five. It's an image of nationalism, industrialization, westernization. How does this image reflect westernization? I think in the uniforms that are being worn by the soldiers. Oftentimes you see, whenever you see uniforms, that's usually kind of a good clue that they were taking those ideas of the Western military at the time. One of the things that Western European style militaries were doing more often was using uniforms. So that's evidence of westernization. You also can see the more sort of Western style hair and, you know, Western style facial hair on the soldiers as well. So yeah, this is one I think that would maybe be about civilization and enlightenment, and also strengthening the military in terms of the slogans. So next thing you guys should do is you should go through all of the other images. Here's image 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You should pause the video now. I will, in 1 second, hit some of the highlights for each of these images, things that I hope you saw as you did this activity. So let's go back to image 2 real quick. The thing that I think you should have hopefully seen for this particular image is they're doing a military exercise here. This is what the torpedo is going off, and you see the people kind of standing around, kind of cheering. This is obviously a sort of a practice exercise. You can see some more Western style attire. You get a sense of industrialization. This is a bridge made of some type of it looks like steel. Not just some old wooden bridge, but something that clearly shows that they're manufacturing steel. And so definitely an image that highlights, westernization, industrialization, and a little bit of militarism as well. This image, the thing that should have hopefully maybe stood out to you, if you didn't know, the piano and the violin right here, two musical instruments that are not traditional in East Asia. Those are both Western musical instruments. These sort of dresses are also more Western inspired in terms of the pattern. You can see the architecture over here, more Western style architecture. And so definitely an image suggesting Westernization and sort of the embrace of Western culture. This one should have been, hopefully you recognize the industrialization that's taking place. We see Japanese silk manufacturing factory. In this image, one of the things I hope you recognized is that this is a pretty idealized factory, right? You got these, windows, so it's well lit. It's while it's a little bit crowded, it's it seems pretty nice and clean. And obviously, this is something they're trying to show off. This is for a industrial exposition. So these are some people who are a crowd of people that are checking out what factories are like, Japanese factories, and so they're showing what sort of an idealized factory would look like. And we also had talked before about Japanese textile production and it involving increasingly women when we did that DBQ practice. So we see more evidence of that. This image, one of the things I hope that stood out to you was this right here. So we've seen this before. This is a traditional hairstyle that would have been worn by the Chinese during the Qing dynasty. And so we have here, it says Captain Higuchi. So this is a Japanese captain. And in this image, you see there are bullets flying, and you see the bravery of the Japanese captain rescuing this young child. Who would leave a young child in the middle of a battlefield? The answer is those barbaric Chinese people. So another image that is reflective of that concept of social Darwinism and Japanese nationalism, and a little bit of militarism as well, with the uniforms reflected here, and the flags here in the background. Another image that suggests nationalism. Finally, this image, I wanted to highlight this symbol here, which is something that we've talked about before. This is the symbol of the Shinto religion. This is a Shinto shrine. And so while we can say that Japan embraced Westernization, they certainly didn't embrace all aspects of Western culture. So they maintained some of their own distinct and unique cultural traditions, including the Shinto religion. We don't see any evidence in any of these images of like Christianity, and that's because with respect to religion, Japan maintains some of their more traditional religious characteristics, including both Buddhism and Shintoism. So this is an image that also is reflective of Japanese militarism and Japanese nationalism with the flag. One thing I just wanted to conclude by is don't forget you can always do some more reading also in your textbook. There's some great discussion of Japan during the Meiji era on pages 894 to 902. So if you're looking for a little reading to back up some of the things that we just talked about. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll have another video soon. Take care. Bye.